Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Karen's craziness never ceases to amaze, especially when she tries to steal a 45-kilo plant from the store. Here we go. Entitled Karen comes to our shop and starts moving and stealing stuff. This was my first encounter with a Karen. So for context, my mom owns a plant shop, and I help around the store occasionally. We've had all sorts of entitled customers and not-so-bright customers. We even had a customer come in and ask for a green plant with leaves. But this lady tips the scale all the way. So I'm out front putting plants and decorations out the front of the entrance as we do every day, and then a wild Karen appeared. I hear this loud scraping sound from behind me. I look over to see this large lady with gray hair and a black shirt with flowers moving the large concrete potted plant that had been permanently placed there. This potted plant wasn't easy to move. The concrete pot alone was a meter or so tall and had a gross weight of around 45 kilos. She was shoving this thing with all her might when I walked up to her and asked what she thinks she's doing. She turns to me and says, "This annoying thing was obstructing the sidewalk and needs to be moved." It was not obstructing anything. I tell her to please leave this plant alone. It's not your property. She ignores me and keeps moving the plant. I go to my mom, the manager of the store, but by the time we're out the front, she stopped moving the plant and is now loading up her car with our plants from the front, along with other things. My mom storms up to her and asks what the heck she's doing. The Karen turns over with her face red as a tomato and says, "Since you had the audacity to block the sidewalk with your crap, I should be compensated with these free plants." My mom's just about had it and starts unloading our plants from her car. She starts screaming, demanding us not to touch her stuff. She said she'd call the police and press charges for theft. Then I chimed in and said, "Actually, we have security footage of you stealing from our store, and if you don't leave, we will call the police." Karen was fuming and muttering incomprehensibly. We hadn't actually called the police yet, but by sheer random chance, a police car happened to drive by the store, and the Karen's face turned from red to white. She had actually thought we called the police. She hopped in her car and sped opposite of the police car, and it didn't even notice. We haven't seen that entitled Karen since. And our second story. Trashy child, trashy mom, trashy yard. Okay, so buckle up as I unwind a marvelous tale of revenge, lust, betrayal, and murder. Okay, maybe just some petty revenge. Now look here, I live in a nice residential neighborhood. We're the only college students in a sea of families. Because of this, I make a point to be respectful to these families. No raging parties, just the occasional bonfire. No midnight screaming match with the boyfriend, no loud sex noises. All in all, best college neighbors ever. However, there's one woman who's always just a jerk. About once a calendar season, her and her boyfriend have screaming matches in the street between 2 and 4 a.m. And I don't mean they fight for 2 hours straight and I could walk out and yell at them. I'm the kind of person who would do that. Instead, they fight, usually about her cheating, then walk a few blocks down. I fall asleep, then they come back just as I drift off. But you know what? I don't know her life. I let it slide. But this defuzz of a woman also has a child. She yells at him a lot, but never at night. Again, not my problem, until yesterday. Little heathens prancing around my yard picking dandelions. Cool, little man, do you? But no, I forgot this SOB is the hellspawn that even Satan didn't want to own up to making. Out of nowhere, kicks the full trash can awaiting pickup into my yard. This is not a bump, oh no situation. Little B's flat roundhouse kicked it, sent everything flying. I was in clear view on the porch at this point, enjoying an after-dinner coffee, and I rightfully contain any swearing. Instead, I say, "What are you doing? Pick that up." Not even a sorry as the kid dashes away to his house. I get up to cross the street to knock on his door, and no one answers. I know his mother's home, her car's there, and TV was on. But hey, maybe not. I'm not breaking down the door to find out. I pick up my trash can and toss it back into the can and continue on with my night. Little did I know, the boyfriend threw out the cat food my cat didn't like. I was unaware it still had food in it, which then scattered into my yard. Cue me waking up the next morning, getting ready to rush to class when, bam, trash everywhere. just as the garbage men drive by with an apologetic look. As I look sadly at the scattered dreams, a neighbor sitting on her porch calls out, said she thought she'd heard raccoons last night, then a bang. This is very likely since there was a trail of cat food leading up to a treasure trove of raccoon snacks. Well, time to skip class to clean up since I'm being watched. Now, my boy and I cook a lot. We always throw out our leftovers from the week on garbage night. Last night when I cleaned it up, it was still a bit cold, but now it's been baking in the unseasonably warm can. Nasty. Gross. Ugh. Plus, it has to go back behind my house until next week. Suddenly, the kid's mother appears and starts outright whining about how college kids are so inconsiderate, never take care of their yards, litter, etc. Okay, losing patience, but maybe she didn't know. I calmly explain what happened yesterday and how it most likely factored into the events of the morning. Never had raccoon problems ever. I didn't even solely blame her kid, even though it only happened because of Deathwing Jr. She just goes on a tirade about how it couldn't be her flame imp of a child, how my yard always looked like this, and I was just trying to blame it on her kid. Like, really? I've always had bacon fat crusted boxes hanging out in my yard, and how she's glad someone finally made me pick it up, but if I don't stop involving her child, she would report me to the HOA? We don't have one. She proceeded to complain as crossed the street while unfortunately not being hit by a car. All right, long fuse, big bomb. I silently pick up the rest of the crap and ignore the neighbor's comments about what a horrid woman she was. Instead, I begin plotting. You see, the trench swan has a baby, and I see her take out the trash at least once a night with what I assume are stink bombs of diapers. As soon as night falls, I enact my plan. I grab a handful of cat treats, raccoon go bonkers for them, and make a small invisible trail to her trash can in the alley. I even prop open the lid with a stick. I'm barely out of sight when I see the first set of reflective eyes. This morning, I was woken up much happier at 7 a.m. to her screaming about all raccoons needing to be shot. Hey now, they're just trying to eat. Take a peek, and they had not only thrown the dirty diapers and other trash all over the alley, but also dragged it all over the right side of her front yard. Took her 2 hours to clean up after the hour of complaining while standing in dirty diaper scent rage, hoping a neighbor would help her. Eventually, made the kid come out to help. Why is he not in school? Like it's a freaking Thursday. Now he knew, but there isn't a damn thing he can do about it. Just gave me the evil eye while I sat on the porch. That was a good cup of coffee. I'll continue to do this every few nights until the next trash day, so maybe a solid more times. Plus, raccoons get a nice snack. I just hope I remember to bring snacks next time. Note, if they put out traps, I'll cancel the plan and disable the traps. No need for our furry scavengers to get hurt. Update time. Tried to do it again last night, wanted to scope out the area. Dinner Squall is sitting on the porch in the dark, muttering in the dark to her boyfriend. I haven't seen them throw out any trash yet. No sign of raccoons either. We'll update when I see them throw out something and reenact the plan. Last update. So I'm too busy to maintain this thread or my revenge. My petty fire has died. Saw her throw out a diaper genie bag last night. Ooh. Called on the coons one last time. Was messy as hell when I went to bed at 1 last night. Cleaned up the morning for good measure. When I saw her come home today after my classes, she looked dead tired. I am amused. And our next story. I'm not snowblowing the new neighbor's driveway. Our old neighbor, Mr. B, passed away last year. He was a very sweet old man, kind of like the neighborhood grandpa. He was a widower and the last couple years started having mobility issues. When it snowed, we'd go over with the snowblower and clear his driveway and salt the walk. In the summer, if I was out mowing, I'd do his lawn too. When his health went downhill, we got his groceries and would bring him meals. When he passed away, we continued to mow the lawn and take care of the children of the house when it was vacant. His children were very appreciative and thanked us for taking care of Mr. B when they couldn't be there. They eventually sold the house and the new neighbors moved into the house in the fall. We introduced ourselves and did the standard neighbor greeting. We noticed they didn't have any lawnmowers or snowblowers, so we told them they should get those things sooner rather than later since we typically start getting snow in November. A few times when I was out mowing, the neighbor asked me to mow their lawn and I obliged, but told him they really should consider getting their own yard tools or calling a service. We just had a huge snowfall and are expected to get more this weekend. The neighbor came to my house early on Sunday morning and banged on my door asking when I was going to be out snowblowing as they needed to get to work. I told the neighbors that I was not going out to shovel or snowblow anytime soon, so they may want to dig their cars out so they could get to work. He told me that they didn't have any shovels and explained that they were relying on me to come over and take care of it. I told him that I wasn't planning on doing that, told him that he could borrow a shovel if he'd like, but I was going back to bed. When I did go out to shovel and snowblow several hours later, I did not do their driveway. The neighbors are now angry at me, and he confronted me outside, saying that it's my fault that they had to call out of work. My wife thinks I should have sucked it up and went over, but I told her I'm not a landscaping service and that I should not have to wake up early to shovel their driveway. And our last story. My neighbor is destroying our property. I live in South Carolina, USA, and own 5 acres of land. One property line was originally made to run down the center of a natural creek. My neighbor owns the 50 acres of property on the other side of the creek. He's 86 years old, and when we built our house in 2019, seemed friendly. Now, this year we've discovered he isn't, but we were not aware before buying this property that the man had a literal 50-year-old feud with my husband's grandfather. We only found out about it when he told us about it this year after my husband caught him spraying weed killer on my vegetable garden when he thought we weren't home. This man's the reason why my gardens haven't grown since moving there. Several of our beautiful old oak trees have also mysteriously died for no reason, and we no longer feel safe to own pets because they go missing mysteriously. None of this is stuff we can prove, but we've now discovered on top of this that he's sabotaging our creek bank while reinforcing his own in order to shift the creek onto our property. Our creek bank, which held just fine for decades before we bought it, now has major erosion issues, and we have huge collapses when it so much as drizzles outside. One portion of the bank collapsed and totaled our tractor when it was dragged down with the dirt down into the creek, which is 5 feet deep in this area. My husband took the extreme measure of putting on camo and sitting in his deer stand after dark to see if he could catch the neighbor, and sure enough, he caught this man with his sons and grandkids shoveling dirt from our creek banks, removing rocks, etc., and using them to reinforce their side of the bank. They've even stolen rocks we brought in to fill in the big collapse by taking their tractor onto our property and taking the rocks while we were at work, then using them on their side of the creek bank. We have video evidence of them doing this and are now trying to figure out if the property line actually moves with the creek. Turns out it doesn't, so we let the neighbor drown in karma. We were able to fence the creek off from him. It's moved almost completely inside our original property line thanks to this neighbor's tampering. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.